Now people are truly saying with science that exercise is literally the fountain of youth. There's so many ways
So
that
many.
exercise, particularly resistance training, can
Yeah.
help us, right? But what is talked about often is its ability to drive glucose into your muscles and out of
Mhm.
your bloodstream. This activated ellagic acid is, in a way, an exercise mimetic because you're getting that benefit with or without exercise.
What if aging isn't about slowing down, but leveling up? I'm Dr. Isaac Jones. This is the Longevity Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Longevity Leaders Podcast. I'm Dr. Isaac Jones, and this episode is part of our exclusive series recorded at the Exponential Longevity Summit, a global gathering of cutting-edge health experts exploring the edge of human performance, health span, and longevity. Let's get into it. All right. Well, welcome, my dear friend, Jordan Rubin. You are such an incredible just light in the world of health. You've written New York Times bestselling books. You've created Garden of Life and Ancient Nutrition and just unbelievable companies. I'm just excited for us to be able to connect with you and dive into what your strategies and solutions are for longevity and optimal living. And just thank you so much for being here today.
Isaac, it's great to be here. And it's interesting, the topic of longevity is reaching the corners of the planet. I was listening this morning to a podcast, and one of the individuals who was being interviewed was a TV star from my childhood. And I overheard a snippet where he asked, is it possible that we could live to 115, 120 years like people are saying? And then the host said, we can live to 120 and 140 years. But you know what I love most about that, Isaac, is this is not new information. Guess who lived to 120 years? Moses. Guess who lived to 126 years? Aaron. You and I were talking about this. I think Isaac lived to 123, 127. We're talking about a great comparison between your namesake, Isaac. So you might have another one, Isaac's longevity. So I think this topic is really resonating with Gen X, certainly with baby boomers who are getting well past middle age, kind of like our parents' age. And I love the idea that we talk about something big, such as lifespan, but we break it down to something small, which is our cell. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I also love using the phrase hidden in plain sight because on this series you're doing, you're going to be talking about cutting edge technologies with many, many health experts. But what I'm going to share is something really simple. It comes from food, it's hidden in plain sight, but yet it can have profound effects on the body. So those are the things I look for in terms of helping people's health if I'm coaching an individual or creating products, brands, etc. So excited to dig in.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you've built out some of the best selling, supplements and products of our time. And the reason is because they work, they, they work. People get amazing results on these products. And so, I just, again, I'm super grateful for this connection. And I'd love for you to share one of the hallmarks of aging. There's all these different hallmarks of aging. There's telomere attrition, there's stem cell exhaustion, there's inflammation, there's protein attrition, there's loss of proteostasis, there's all these different hallmarks of aging. But one of the hallmarks of aging is the microbiome. So can you explain how the gut microbiome plays a really critical role in transforming this hidden in plain sight, molecule that we're going to talk about today to more of a bioactive molecule? And I'll let you explain all of that, but would love for you to just share how that works.
Well, it's really critical for us to understand the old adage, you are what you eat, is only partially true. You really are correctly what you can digest and utilize, what is made bioavailable to you. And so I think it's really critical to understand, while I could talk for hours about the microbiome, it's how I entered the industry. It's what was most affected in my own journey with my successful battle with Crohn's disease, et cetera, almost 30 years ago. The microbiome is really important because certain compounds, call it vitamins, minerals, or in particular, phytonutrients, phytochemicals, and what we're going to talk about even more specifically, polyphenols, flavonoids, etc. Those are only as good as their downstream metabolites. So if you consume resveratrol, resveratrol is a large molecule, and its ability to function in the body is 100% dependent on your microbiome converting resveratrol into these downstream metabolites. And that goes for anything from what you would find in the herb ginseng or the root ginseng to something you would find, as I mentioned, in grape or in Japanese knotweed, which is resveratrol. So it's really critical for people to understand that we're getting great information on polyphenols, these compounds found in plants, particularly fruits, and flavonoids, and they're amazing and they're antioxidative. But a certain portion of the population can't break those down or convert them into their metabolites, which people are now throwing around the term postbiotic. They're calling everything a postbiotic. But I think it's really important to understand, Isaac, that the patients that we treat and coach and the doctors we work with, the folks that need this nutrition the most are often falling into the category of those that don't have a healthy microbiome and can't metabolize them into these truly beneficial compounds. So if you need an antioxidant, but those who need it most can't really get the benefit, that's a problem. So we've been working on some really cutting edge science to both identify what I would say are nearly ubiquitous antioxidants, but how do we get them to be universally utilized, universally bioavailable, particularly to the individuals that need it most? So that's a long way of saying that your gut microbiome is critical, whether you're breaking down quercetin, whether it's a proanthocyanin from grapeseed, or whether it's EGCG from green tea. Don't assume those beneficial compounds are going to work for you unless your gut has the appropriate microbes. And for most people who are experiencing autoimmune disease, who have a chronic degenerative disease, osteoarthritis, for example, are dealing with a malignancy, don't assume they can utilize those compounds just because we've seen some research in vitro. We've got to get the gut right, and we have to make sure we are offering said polyphenol or phytochemical in its appropriate form.
I love that. So you could technically have a person A, and then person B take the same supplement, eat the same food, and because of their microbiome, metabolize those things completely different. One gets the benefit and one doesn't.
100%. And then you can also say that there are even detrimental effects to plants. We hear about the double-edged sword that is now being referred to widely, plant defense chemicals, and the carnivore crew are saying that they're dangerous. And certainly some, like oxalates, are not really beneficial for anybody. And I don't meet a lot of people that need more gluten in their diet or that need more phytic acid. But to be clear, plant defense chemicals can be amazing. And I would say, Isaac, every antioxidant that we talk about that's popular is a plant defense chemical, from the same resveratrol to quercetin to EGCG. So I look at plant defense chemicals as a primarily positive, but we must be able to utilize them, break them down, make them bioavailable, or they can actually be harmful.
So what is this magic, antioxidant, anti-carcinogenic kind of molecule here? Like what does it do? Why do we need it? And then how can we actually metabolize it? I mean, we'll get to all of that, but I'd love for you to get into that.
Well, first of all, it's called ellagic acid, and it is not new. In fact, I remember learning about it when I was in my early 20s, and my first exposure to it was from a raspberry seed source, so raspberry seed being a source of ellagic acid. And I learned at the time that ellagic acid induced apoptosis, which is a programmed cell death in cancer cells. Now, in dietary supplements, it's not anything you can say or communicate. Didn't stop that company at the time. But I went on over the course of years to never forget that. And in the last 3 years, myself and my team have been researching ellagic acid. And what's interesting, I'll make this example. There's a mutual friend of ours, Isaac, that we've worked with for years. And I was at my daughter's basketball game, and he was asking me, so what does this ellagic acid do? And I started looking up PubMed articles, and I sent him one that ellagic acid was a great agent to promote healthy blood sugar. And then I sent him one that said ellagic acid was great at helping you build lean body mass because it shuttles glucose from the bloodstream into the muscle instead of allowing it to sit there, attract an insulin spike that then stores said blood sugar as fat. And then I sent him something where ellagic acid was studied and showed to be effective in BPH. And then I sent him something about cancer, then menopause. I mean, he was just like, and this is the comment back, and I'm at my daughter's basketball game. Is there anything this can't do? Question mark. And I love that. But here's the problem. As much as there is research that is statistically significant where a certain amount of milligrams of ellagic acid that, by the way, you find in raspberries, pomegranate, walnut, in grapes, berries, and the parts of those trees, vines, and shrubs. So think of leaves, grape leaves have them, raspberry leaves have them, seeds have them. Ellagic acid is prevalent. However, ellagic acid is poorly absorbed. It is a large molecule, and a certain percentage of the population, due to its size and insolubility, they can't break it down to create metabolites, some of which you've heard of, including urolithins A through M. By the way, urolithin A is a very popular supplement where they talk about it being a muscle-building postbiotic, and you've got the Dr. Gundrys of the world, the Dr. Hymans of the world, the Dr. Lyons of the world. My dog is getting excited about that. I greatly apologize. Hang on just one moment, Isaac. We're going to edit. And she's gone. Thank you, honey. Sorry about that, buddy. My dog won't be anywhere without me, and so I thought she would paw at the door if we didn't let her in. But anyway, can you edit that last part out?
Sure. No worries.
Okay. So I'll go right where I was saying. So urolithin A is just one of many compounds that are metabolized from ellagic acid or ellagitannins. And what we found, Dr. Isaac, is that when you make ellagic acid, and conversely, quercetin, EGCG, resveratrol, when you make it soluble, everybody can ferment it. Think about fiber. Insoluble fiber is unfermentable. It's something that you really get no use out of. It passes through you. Think wheat bran. Soluble fiber, when it is in your gut, it can feed your microbiome. We're hearing about this from lots of health influencers. Soluble fiber would be like the pectin you find in apples or grapes. Pumpkin is a good source of soluble fiber. Flaxseed has some soluble fiber. We hear about cone jackroot, acacia. So there's a technology that was developed in the 60s by a pharmaceutical company where they would take polyphenols and expose them to a choline salt. And choline, which is a phospholipid, interacts with said polyphenol and makes it 1,000 times more soluble. And that's amazing, Isaac, because a dosage of ellagic acid may need to be 1,200 milligrams in a randomized controlled trial to support blood sugar or to support some of the other functions I talked about. But imagine if you could make it soluble, usable by everyone, and it would be 100 times essentially more effective on a dose-dependent basis. And that's what we are looking at. There's a compound that has been called choline-activated, which is choline-activated ellagic acid. It has been researched now for decades. The pharmaceutical companies ended up not utilizing it. So I'll call it natural biotech company picked up the research, and they have been looking at the ability for this form of ellagic acid to do so many things for the body, it's almost
Wow.
ridiculous. And when I first learned about it 3 years ago, I actually said it was ridiculous. But years later, I now believe that this one compound could unlock the key to metabolic function and more for virtually everyone that we know, everyone we coach, everyone we work with on a patient relationship. And we are excited to be working towards bringing that to the world.
Wow. That's incredible. I love hearing this. And I mean, you're always on the cutting edge, but this is really cool. I mean, it's hidden in plain sight, right? It's in raspberries, pomegranates, grapes, berries, it's in leaves, etc. And it helps to create urolithin A through M, right?
Yes.
Which is, I mean, all of the benefits of this is pretty unbelievable. And then um, this chemical though, like you one of the benefits is mitochondrial health, and it impacts mitochondrial health. Tell us a little bit about how ellagic acid, apart from other antioxidants, in terms of the impact, what it does for mitochondrial health, which is
Absolutely.
also a big part of longevity.
Yeah, it stimulates mitophagy, autophagy, and it stimulates, as I talked about earlier, apoptosis. And that is really, I'll use the overused term, the holy grail of cellular health. If you are improving the health of your cells and helping to recycle and discard unhealthy cells, and they're being called zombie cells, senescent cells, all kinds of information
Mhm.
that's putting it at the forefront, that is a game changer. I used to distill health to a very simple phrase. We want to get the good in and get the bad out. Ellagic acid in its activated form, or if you're somebody who is blessed to have a microbiome that can break down ellagic acid into its metabolites on your own, you're getting incredible benefits because this compound, which again is found in so many plants, can help you double and multiply your healthy cells and eliminate your unhealthy cells. And what does that lead to? In laboratory animal studies with C. elegans, which is a certain type of worm where they do a lot of lifespan models, they're seeing a significant increase. You also are seeing a benefit that is similar to certain pharmaceuticals in its ability to help manage blood glucose and insulin levels. Again, I mentioned this earlier. This helps you build lean muscle, but also lose body fat because we must clear blood sugar out of our bloodstream. Think about it this way, Isaac. Now people are truly saying with science that exercise is literally the fountain of youth. There's so many
So
ways that
many.
exercise, particularly resistance training, can
Yeah.
help us, right? But what is talked about often is its ability to drive glucose into your muscles and out of
Mhm.
your bloodstream. This activated ellagic acid is, in a way, an exercise mimetic because you're getting that benefit with or without exercise. And I'm seeing people, Dr. Isaac, we have a small pilot group we're studying with the product, or the ingredient. I'm seeing people that are increasing their strength while losing weight. And when I say people, I'm talking about athletes. And that is something traditionally very difficult because if you think about a bodybuilder, they lift in the off season heavy, they're gaining a lot of weight and some fat, but then they dramatically cut their body fat down and they're lifting lighter weights because you can't do both. We're seeing it. I'm seeing fat loss, muscle gain, and strength happen simultaneously. And that's what the same compound that shows in laboratory studies that it can help to fight against the SARS-CoV-2 virus,
Wow.
meaning that this helps fight against lipid envelope viruses. It helps fight against parasites. It actually has a similar effect, Isaac, to some anti-parasitic medicines that we've heard a lot about recently, including ivermectin. And its compounds are typically found in these fruit, seeds, leaves, etc. So we've got something that could be antiviral. It could be an amazing support for blood sugar. It can improve life and health span. And again, it comes from the lowly raspberry, pomegranate, which obviously used to be super popular and amazing, now is a little more, been there, done that. Walnuts, no one gets excited really about walnut leaves, etc. Aronia berries. I love the idea that we don't need a designer chemical to get these kind of results. And I firmly believe, after looking at the research and seeing
Yeah.
the results in a small group of people we're working with, that this is a foundational compound for everyone, whether it's through diet, supplementation, or a combination.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. I mean, who would have known that it impacts mitophagy, autophagy, and apoptosis? Mitophagy, just for the listeners, is when the mitochondria needs repair and needs to be recycled and upgraded, if you would. Autophagy is when the organelles of the cells need to be recycled and upgraded, and it just keeps the cell healthy and functioning properly. And apoptosis is when cells are not functioning properly. They can end up becoming zombie cells or senolytic or senescent cells, which are cells that then send off communication to other cells to get them to essentially become zombie cells themselves, become senescent cells themselves, causes a lot of inflammation. You don't want them in your body. So you want to figure out how you can stimulate at a healthy level apoptosis. And if you're saying that ellagic acid can do all of this.
It can, as long as you can make it bioavailable. And again, that depends on your microbiome. And so with this
Wow.
choline activation, it becomes 1,000 times more soluble. So everyone can essentially ferment
Wow.
it and utilize it. And think of it as a precursor to the urolithins. It's a precursor to many compounds that are becoming more popular and appreciated today. Whereas urolithin A, I think it's an amazing discovery with great research. It is a single metabolite. Imagine having a suite of urolithins plus getting the benefits of ellagic acid in and of itself, because it is more than a precursor of urolithins. It is a precursor of many different compounds. Think of it as a lock and key situation, Isaac, when you are dealing with a lock, which in this case is cellular health. If your key's too big, and we've all done this late at night, we try to get into our house or something, and we have a bunch of keys on our keychain. We can't get the key that works. It's too big, it's too fat, whatever. That's what happens when many people consume these polyphenolic antioxidants or these flavonoids or flavanols. What we're doing is we're trying to make this usable for the people that need it most, for those that have the greatest metabolic dysfunction, for those that have a compromised gut, a compromised immune system. And I'm really excited that it can
Wow.
benefit people from everything to their brain, their immune system, their joints, their skin, because after all, metabolism is critical for all of this. And we're looking at ways to get this into the daily diet of as many people as we can. Look, I am all for peptides. I am all for the responsible use of medicines, if that's all there is. But I think all of us intuitively know that are in our space, the answer to the metabolic crisis is not going to be found in a medicine. And what's interesting is the medicine that people are looking at, or this peptide, semaglutide, it is being targeted for weight loss, but we all know that it's really a metabolic, I'll say, supporter. I think it's being used in far too great a quantity because it's causing major side effects. Of course, there's an argument, is it major or is it minor? But we're going to have a lot of weight loss in this country because so many people we know and probably haven't shared with us are using semaglutide medications, but there is going to be a corresponding set of side effects, especially muscle loss. Imagine if you can have a compound that is available at your grocery or health food store in fruits or juices or leaves, for that matter, that can help you simultaneously build muscle, burn fat, and
Wow.
support your immune system without side effects. And by the way, there are over 13,000 published articles on ellagic acid and its benefits. This is nothing new. It's been literally found in waste products from pomegranate juice manufacturing. I mean, this is something, and that's why it's been studied, because it's everywhere. How can we get it to the humans that need it? And better yet, how can we make it usable and beneficial?
So semaglutide, does it impact the level of urolithin in the body? Does it deplete urolithin? Do we know anything about because I've heard that semaglutide decreases muscle mass, which is a big issue with aging, right? When you lose your muscle mass, when you lose your lung capacity, when you lose your balance, like those are some of the biggest things that actually cause, slips and falls that cause people to end up going downhill really quickly. But yeah, like, is there anything else around semaglutide? And that's, by the way, for people who don't know semaglutide, it's like the GLP-1s, right? You've got they're the peptides and the Ozempics of the world that are essentially communicating to the body that you don't need to eat anymore, and then you lose all this weight. You're disinterested in food, essentially. So
Yeah,
people have
it affects your hormone glucagon, which is sort of an antagonist of insulin, so to speak. And again, I have heard some really, I would say, intelligent researchers talk about a sensible use of semaglutide as a peptide that is very different from what we're seeing in Ozempic and Wegovy, because that's a shotgun approach, so to speak. But you pose a great question, Dr. Isaac. I don't know the answer to the correlation between GLP-1 agonists and urolithins, but it's a fascinating, I think, a study to undertake. Now, I will say that there is research being done on ellagic acid in subjects using semaglutide or GLP-1 agonists to see if it will allow for a maintenance of the muscle mass instead of a loss. That research has not been finished yet. I also know it's being co-administered along with semaglutide. So I'm interested to see the results, but I'm not looking solely for something to help reverse a side effect caused by a medication. I'm looking for a natural answer for our metabolic dysfunction that has side benefits instead of side effects. Because ultimately, if you delay gastric emptying, if you signal to the body that you're less hungry, but you disconnect the need for nutrition with hunger, I think that's a problem. And we've seen this fail before with various, let's say, gastric surgeries, which are designed for people to eat less, but it kind of or greatly affects their ability to extract nutrients from foods because you're missing some of your GI tract. And we do have God-given cravings for food so that we can consume necessary macro and micronutrients. So what we're trying to do is offer something that unlocks the power of God's created antioxidants, especially for the people that need it most. And what's amazing is if you're someone who has already got a healthy microbiome and metabolism, you can still benefit from the protection that ellagic acid offers. Because once again, you look at some of the published research, ellagic acid is amazing in its ability to fight pathogens and fight toxins. So again, I'll echo our mutual friend who texted me and said, is there anything this can't do? And what I'll say to that is, yes, there is plenty of things that ellagic acid can't do, but there's very few people and conditions that ellagic acid can't provide some level of benefit. I'm not suggesting that it is the end all be all for BPH or for menopause and the attenuated hot flashes and some of the what people will call symptoms. I'm not saying it's the end all be all for out of control unhealthy cells or metabolism or viruses, but I would certainly make it a weapon in my arsenal. And from your reaction, Isaac, I'm guessing no one in this summit has talked about it. So that makes me feel good that I could bring something that would be additive to some of the great information, the viewers and listeners are going to see and hear?
I mean, it sounds like a very powerful longevity molecule. I mean, you look at the, what are some of the underlying causes of why we age? I mean, a lot of these longevity experts are just like, take this peptide, take this, suppository of NAD plus or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, wait, hold on a second. Like, we need to like get our blood sugar under control. We need to like, figure out, if there's exercise mimetics, if you're not exercising, which is a mimicking kind of exercise molecule, like let's get that dialed. There's something that can get rid of toxins and parasites. I mean, these are all the things that are foundational to addressing, the removal of the things that cause inflammation in the body, the things that drive all of the hallmarks of aging. So I love that. And what I'd love to know is what do you see as the role of nutrition and how it's going to evolve in the science of aging and longevity over the next decade or so?
I think it is a very exciting time. Wherein you and I have talked about this off the air, so to speak, that we're both very filled with faith on what's coming over the next several years, because for the first time, certainly since I've been alive, we're hearing people that are outside of our industry, in government, in politics, and they're saying things like ultra processed foods are destroying our metabolism. They're saying things like we need to consume food from regenerated soils. They're trying to stay neutral when it comes to polarizing terms like climate change, but they're really getting to the root cause, because if we had healthy soils loaded with soil carbon, then the issue of CO2 and all of that would be lessened, because we would farm the way God intended and the way that we know works. And so these are the things I'm very focused on. But to see coming to light the amount of chemicals that are allowed in the US by the FDA and the USDA, but banned in other countries. Back when I was first talking about this 10, 15 years ago, there was 1,120. Now there's probably more. Those are banned chemicals in Europe that are allowed here. And most European nations don't allow genetically modified organisms or certain pesticides and herbicides. So do I think nutrition is going to play a major role? Absolutely. I see a day, Isaac, where people will start choosing their meat that they consume, not just for the protein and the fat or even the way something was raised or grown, but we're going to have tests that show meat, poultry, and dairy are a rich source of antioxidants. Why? Because if I just told you walnut leaves are an amazing source of ellagic acid that's great for all these functions in the body, what if a cow or a goat or a sheep eat a walnut leaf and then they produce meat or milk? You're going to get an activated form of ellagic acid and everything else. So I am seeing an uprising in our nation among young people, among practitioners. I just spoke to someone, Isaac, an hour ago who was in tears as she spoke to me. She's getting chemotherapy right now. She's in a room at Vanderbilt with all these other folks, and she's talking about trying to consume healthy foods along with it, asking me about supplements. She is not in our camp per se, but she is still saying, Jordan, what do you think about my smoothie? I'm trying to juice watercress. I'm consuming turmeric. And I'm glad that even though her oncologist said none of this is proven, which aggravates me, angers me, whatever, this woman is saying, you know what? I trust God for healing. I feel led to pursue conventional medicine, but I am also trying to optimize my health in relation to nutrition. And you know what? That's not someone I try to dissuade from conventional treatments. All I said was, hey, here's some things that I would recommend you tweaking. If you want to get some nutritional IVs, you should do it under an integrative or functional medicine doctor. Don't just go to one of those sort of franchise places and order a cocktail because of what you're dealing with in treatment and your diagnosis. But the fact that a person like this is looking at natural and organic foods and supplements tells me a lot, because 10, 15 years ago, she wouldn't have been open to it. And the
Yeah.
doctor wouldn't have said it's not proven. She would have said it's dangerous. So
Mhm.
look, we're going to see a major sea change here. And I'm not going to pin it all on one person or two people, but there are some people out there that are going to have a lot of clout. They're going to get their opportunity to have their voice heard. And they are people like us. And how much better can it get than that? I mean, we've been waiting a long time. You know, we were talking off the air, Isaac, about you being at Life University. I grew up, my very early years were in Marietta, as my dad was a student at Life. My
Wow.
uncle was a graduate from Life, the first clinician there in 1977. And even at Life College, which is now Life University, Isaac, my dad fought for nutrition because the founder was pretty ambivalent. He believed chiropractic was all you needed, and nutrition was, you know, you're sort of an outsider. And so now chiropractic is widely respected and appreciated. I have athletic kids, Isaac, and if they go to the chiropractor so often, like I'm getting bills from my friend who's a local chiropractor who you went to school with. I'm glad to pay him, but it's like every day one of my kids is at the chiropractor. And I don't know how they, and my wife asked, how do the other players stay healthy? I mean, if they're not getting adjustments and laser and red light and soft wave and dry needling and all the things that are being used. So I know that's a long answer, but I'm very hopeful. Nutrition and exercise are a potent 1-2 punch. Everybody kind of goes on one side or the other. Dr. Peter Attia thinks exercise is more important than nutrition. I probably believe nutrition is more important than exercise, but you know what? We can all agree that they're both important. It's time they had their day. And if we will work on fixing the cell, we will get well. Our good friend, Dr. Pompa, that's his statement right on his branding and his products: fix the cell and get well. It's exactly the case.
Totally. Absolutely. Can you know, with urolithin and with the ellagic acid, can you experience the benefits of those just through diet alone? Or like is it necessary to supplement those, or like what are your thoughts about that? And then one follow-up question is, what do you need to do to your microbiome to make sure that you're metabolizing it to get the benefits?
Yeah, well, first, let me answer the second question. If you consume ellagic acid from food, you can take a test to determine if you have the right microbiome to convert it to urolithins and other metabolites. It's not a common test, but you would need to ask whatever practitioner or laboratory, can I do an antioxidant or polyphenol metabolic gut test? And there, it goes by different names. And we're seeing that 40 to 50% of people can't convert efficiently urolithins from ellagic acid. So you can do that. Or in the future, you can look for a form of ellagic acid called choline-activated, ELLAGATE. And that form will be guaranteed to have you convert because it is completely soluble, 1,000 times more soluble than ellagic acid on its own. And you can look for it in individual and combination products. As I mentioned, research dating back to the 60s in the pharma side of things. Now it's been more of a natural biotech company, and that's who we have been introduced to and been working with the last 3 years. And it took me a while to get on board because I just felt like there were too many uh, supposed benefits to this. And I thought I heard it all before. Ellagic acid, when I was 22, I heard about it from raspberries. But as I dig into the mechanisms of action and the research, I am convinced that it belongs at the top of the list of any longevity, health span, cellular health, anti-aging therapies. And
Wow.
what's great, Isaac, is it can work with almost anything else you're doing. We talked about stem cells off the air. We've talked about peptides on the air. We've talked about foods and beverages. This goes right along with it. But don't misunderstand. No matter who you are and what your gut condition is, eat raspberries and pomegranates with the seeds and consume walnuts. Those are healthy foods regardless. Certain
Mm,
people will benefit from them more, and we want to give a level playing field. And so I am going to the next several years be formulating with and promoting this choline-activated ellagic acid. In fact, some of what you and I have talked about in recent conversations, part of that is bringing this and other amazing compounds and nutrients to the world in a way that is going to benefit those that need it the most.
Wow.
That's who we're formulating for.
I love it. No, that's so good. I mean, such a wealth of knowledge, and the fact that there's 13,000 publications, on ellagic acid helps to, decrease muscle loss, helps impact, helps, maintain muscle mass as you age, helps with blood sugar levels, helps with infections, antiviral, anti-parasitic. It's anti-parasitic. Did I hear you say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then how does it impact toxin? Like, I assume it's not a binder, but how does it get rid of toxins out of the body?
No, I believe it. So in the research where they talk about that, and it's both biological toxins as well as inorganic chemicals, I think this has to do with the healthy cell replication and the apoptosis of unhealthy cells. So theoretically, if we were able to dump our unhealthy cells in a faster, more efficient way, that would greatly reduce the toxic load on the body. And obviously,
Yes.
for example, and I'll use an analogy with the animals. We have multiple regenerative organic farms, but we had an issue with our goats. They had a viral disease or an expression of a viral disease, which lowered the immune system and allowed them to have a significant parasite load. So what happened is we decided to do what? Not deworm them with medication. We grazed them through the woods so that they could eat leaves that contain ellagic acid, and the leaves were anti-parasitic. And then when the parasite load was gone or lowered, more normal, manageable, then the immune system could attack the virus, and it goes both ways. So the mechanisms of action of how ellagic acid helps reduce your toxic burden are many, not the least of which, as you understand, Dr. Isaac, by balancing insulin and getting excess blood sugar out of your bloodstream into your muscle. That alone is going to help, quote unquote, detoxify the body, because imbalanced blood sugar is a major sign or risk for a weakened immune system. We know that when your blood sugars fluctuate greatly, you are at much greater risk of infection. We know that people that are diagnosed with diabetes, type 1 or 2, have a greater risk of immune disorders. So there's myriad mechanisms of action, but the bottom line here is that you're not what you eat, you're what you digest and assimilate and utilize. And so if we can take a substance that everyone should be consuming in their diet, ellagic acid, and make it soluble, make it usable, then we're going to get the benefits that those thousands of articles are attributing to this compound.
Can you OD on it? Is there like a upper level of ellagic acid that you should be taking? Or because
I'm sure you can in supplemental form, because it's usually extracted from pomegranate at a 90% potency. I'm sure there is an upper limit. There's not an upper limit from the food, but because the choline-activated ellagic acid is 1,000 times more soluble, instead of needing 13 or 1,200 milligrams, we're going to give 50 to 100 milligrams. We could give less. We could give 2 milligrams, but it is very, very safe in those type of dosages. But if you're consuming pomegranates or raspberries or walnuts, you're more likely to have issues with either too many nuts, too much sugar from the fruit, etc. So the ellagic acid is not the limiting factor there, but the beauty of this soluble form, it works amazingly well in what we believe to be 100 milligrams based on the research and the laboratory studies.
Beautiful. Amazing. Now, one last question I want to ask is, where do you see the future of longevity? Does AI play a role in that? And I guess there's two questions in here. What are you doing? What are you personally doing? Like what's your supplement stack or biohacking stack? Like, what are the things that you're doing knowing your own physiology to stay young?
Now, this is where I'm going to answer if the second question. Well, let me answer the first one. I am the last person to ask about AI and technology. The fact that I'm on a Zoom with you is
The
a miracle
miracle.
in and of itself, especially on my first try. So I will leave that to those that are more intelligent as it relates to technology than me. In terms of the second one, um, I want to make sure that everyone understands my number one longevity hack is that every morning I say a declaration that is comprised of the Bible promises from God. And some of them go like this. I'm going to be stronger, like Caleb, I'm going to be stronger at 85 years of age than I was at 40. Like Moses at 120 years, I am going to be stronger than I was previously, and my eyes will not go dim, and my vigor will be unabated. And then I go on and on. I quote all of the biblical promises and our biblical ancestors and heroes who lived long, healthy lives. And I talk about being satisfied with good things and my youth being renewed as I age. So that's number one, and that's universal. I also do several things that are unique and many that are probably similar to your other guests. I consume a beverage that is brewed from fruit tree leaves because of exactly what we were talking about. These are fruit trees that I grow on my farms. It's based on a revelation from God in his scripture. So I'm consuming a boatload of polyphenols. And this is something that I picked up recently, and I shouldn't have waited this long, but I was in Greece recently, in the Greek islands, celebrating my 25th wedding anniversary. And listening to these Greek olive farmers, I decided I'm going to consume and give to my family, every one of us, in a shot glass, 1 ounce of high polyphenolic extra virgin olive oil from the Greek islands. So I ordered enough to last us a year.
Nice.
Oil also symbolizes the Holy Spirit. So we took shots just last night of
Nice.
that. So communion plus Holy Spirit olive oil. So I'm excited about that. It's bitter in your throat, kind of makes you, uh, choke a little bit. I do have an amazing song. I'm in Alabama. I have a home in Alabama and one in Nashville. I'm back and forth. I have a amazing sauna here and multiple saunas there, but I have sauna, cold plunge, hot tub. I have some cool PEMF machines and gadgets and gizmos, and my supplement stack is vast. But the good news is it comes out of mason jars mostly because I don't just use brands that I manufacture for like Ancient Nutrition. I use the products that are yet to be manufactured. So, but I'm a little old school, Isaac. I love minerals. We have a unique organic source of minerals that is bound to 18 amino acids, not just one or two. I don't overlook the small things there. I consume a unique set of proteins. I try to consume raw dairy every day, raw egg yolks in my smoothies, feed them to my kids as well. We're a raw dairy family. I eat lots of red meat from our own water buffalo. I'm having a venison burger when we get off this
Nice.
podcast from Maui. So, I do a lot, as you can probably imagine. I almost died twice. I overcame Crohn's disease. I overcame cancer through the blood of the Lamb and the word of my testimony and what God has revealed to me. So I don't take my health for granted. And I also have 6 children. So I don't just implement these quote unquote longevity hacks for myself, but I'm always looking for ways to improve my children's cognitive function. So I have musicians, I have actresses, and I have athletes, and they all need the best nutrition. And I love it that they're consuming choline-activated, for example, or they're getting whatever amazing probiotic stack that we're on. And so I just love what I do. And simpler, I like to get sunlight in my eyes. I like to walk barefoot and
Yes.
get out and exercise and move and hug and kiss my loved ones. So these are all, and hang out with positive, encouraging people like you, Isaac, because you're one of the best out there.
Oh man, Jordan, this is so powerful. And I mean, you really embrace what I call holistic longevity, which is so much greater than the mechanistic longevity everyone's teaching out there on podcasts. peddling just one product that they've discovered in the lab or whatever. I can't emphasize enough how powerful that last, 5 minutes of you sharing what you do, kiss, hug your kids, go outside, get in nature, experiment, with all these new advanced things. One follow-up question, this I promise is my last question. Is there any way that we can get that special drink that you get on your farm? Because I'm sure people are wondering.
I'm so glad you asked. And I have been studying it for 5 years. It is in part my life's work. And right now I give it to people that are deathly in need of it. But I am working towards bringing it to the world coming up this late summer, early fall. I've got a new book that I've co-authored with our good friend, Dr. Josh Axe, that
Nice.
is really designed to help people achieve everything that God created them to be in life. It is targeted towards the church in a way, but would really benefit the world. And so I would really love it, Isaac, if you would collaborate with us on that, help us get it to people. And so you have my word that we will work on doing that. Right now, I've been blessed to be able to help people with cancer and other conditions, give them hope, but also something tangible that we've grown on our farm. And so we're scaling up right now. We planted 1 million trees starting in 2020. So this is the reason. So I'll talk to you more about it on a future program. But in the meantime, we're trying to create some of these simple solutions like the choline ellagic we talked about and more. And a lot of this is either free or it is very affordable. Look, it's not expensive to consume olive oil every day that burns your throat. It's free to walk barefoot outside or to quote scripture that God has promised for us to have longevity. And so those are things that are really big takeaways, but it was important for me to shed light on what I think is a very unique compound that'll be powerful for cellular health and longevity. But everything I shared is important to me. But if I had to pick that one, it would be that I am proclaiming the word of God and the promises to me. And other people who maybe don't share the same faith as us, they might say, well, I'm meditating, or it's the power of positive thinking. I'm okay with that because God created positive thoughts as well. And he says life and death is in the power of the tongue. And if that's the case, I will restate it in saying longevity is in the power of the tongue as well. So it's
Gosh,
so much good to do.
how about we end on that? That is so good, Jordan. What any social media platform or website you'd want anyone to go to follow you?
Absolutely. We have YouTube. We've got our ancient nutrition stuff. My ingredient company and manufacturing is called BYO Tech, stands for Beyond Organic Technology. And we manufacture products for ancient nutrition and other great brands. And we've got a lot going on in the future. So I thank you for giving me this platform, Dr. Isaac. I love to be able to freely and in a way that's encouraged share everything that I do and believe in, because I will tell anyone who comes to me, and I get a lot of folks that have very severe cancer and debilitating diseases. I say, if there's one thing universally that will make a difference, it is the unwavering faith that God paid for your healing through his sacrifice of his son, Jesus. And
Man.
people listening, that may be unpopular to some, but it is the breath that I breathe. And that is, I can't not share that, whether it's the subject of longevity, overcoming disease, or simply how can we even live another day. So I know you and I share that, and it's just great that I have this platform, and
That's
maybe
true
that
longevity.
also is different than what everybody would share. But yeah, it's exciting to be alive today, and I'm really proud of. I say this because you're a little younger than me. I'm proud of what you've been able to accomplish, Isaac. And as we were talking off the air, one of my favorite scriptures, and I quote this every day, is like Isaac, I will plant a field and reap 100-fold harvest. And so I'm a little jealous that my name's not Isaac in that regard, but hopefully you and I will never forget when we shared that together at one of your HEA conferences, and I'm going to watch it happen in your life.
Thank you, Jordan. You're such a blessing, and I couldn't come in full alignment with what you just shared. That's the ultimate longevity. If you want to live beyond the time that you're here on this earth, that's for sure. God bless you, brother. Thank you for your time, and yeah, look forward to connecting in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Longevity Leaders Podcast. Our Longevity Leaders community is on mission to transform 100 million lives by 2040. If you enjoyed this show, please share this with somebody that you know, especially another doctor or physician, but also click that follow button. Until next time, stay strong and live long.